guys, it's me. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Tyler. If you're new here, welcome to FROstrated the channel. I am delighted that you clicked on this video and want to take some time just to talk about the topic of today, which is dispelling or kind of unwinding the misconceptions of natural hair. And what I mean by that is literally taking things that we either see on social media or hear from other naturals, and we automatically jump with it without actually thinking, wait, this may not be right. Or the conversations that we have as naturals that may not be as positive or as uplifting to continue your natural hair journey. So I have 5 that I think we all kind of seen or have seen throughout our natural hair journey, and I'm going to kind of go through those in the best way that I know how, which is in a comedic way, and also to give you a little bit of motivation if you are at that little standstill point in your natural hair journey. So if you are in need or just want a little laugh, feel free to continue to watch this channel and watch this video. And without further ado, let's jump right into this first misconception. First misconception that I'm going to go over is that you have to have do a big chop in order for your hair to truly be considered natural. I do not agree with that. I wish people would stop saying that, because there are plenty of people out here that have transitioned and haven't did the big chop that are doing just fine, that have longer hair than me. So I don't necessarily advocate for the big chop. Have I done the big chop? Yes, twice. But do I go around telling people, listen, the only way that you're truly gonna get the advantages of being natural is to chop your hair all the way off? No. And I wish people would stop saying that. I wish people would stop promoting that. I am not by any means saying that a big chop won't help, because that is definitely a big step, and it helps a lot in terms of how your hair will eventually change and develop. But is that a necessity or a requirement in order for you to be natural? Absolutely not. There are millions of people right now transitioning from where they are, and they just do a big cut, not necessarily a big chop, where they literally start from the scalp and work their way out. So I really feel like people gotta stop saying that, like, oh, I have to do a big chop in order for me to be natural. Please let that go, because it's a scare tactic almost, and it's discouraging for people who may feel like they have a good bit of hair on their heads as it is, and they have to start over. And a lot of people do not like the idea of starting over, especially with their hair. So I don't necessarily agree with the notion that you have to chop it all the way off and start from bald head scallywag and then work your way up to this and then say, okay, now you get your stamp of being a natural. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's the best way to motivate somebody who's already scared or hesitant about being natural. So I would suggest for those of you who are trying to either transition or you want to make that big step, do what works for you. Certainly, if you feel like that's a big chop, do it when you're ready for it. Do it when the time is right for you. But if you feel like transitioning would be the best way for you, go for that route if that makes you happy. But I would love for the natural hair community to stop telling people that you have to literally shave your head or literally start from zero and work your way up in terms of becoming fully natural, because we truly don't know what fully natural even means. But that's neither here nor there. So that's my first misconception and my opinion on that. Stop telling folks that they got to shave their heads to be natural. Quit that, especially when you didn't do it. But that's so. Let's skip to number 2, shall we? Okay, so the second misconception that I want to talk about and kind of debunk is that natural hair is hard to maintain. Follow me here. So why is natural hair hard to maintain? I think hair is a little complicated sometimes, but I just think that to throw that natural hair is hard to maintain on to those who may want to be natural and then just quit because they have seen that you said that it's hard to maintain, so now they're like, you know what, forget it. First of all, it's a mentality thing. If you believe your hair is hard to maintain, then it is hard to maintain. Two, hair is all about having some sort of schedule, regimen, or process. And you have to keep that process going so you can allow your hair to grow. Saying that it's hard to maintain simply implies that you probably don't have the energy or the time to actually do your hair like you want to. And then you say because of that, that it's hard to maintain. When in actuality, you just don't want to do it. I mean, let's be real. If you don't want to do your hair, you already don't like your hair, you don't like every style that you do, and then when you do the style, it's like, you're immediately going to say negative and pessimistic things like your natural hair is hard to maintain. If that be the case, and it is hard to maintain, reach out to a cosmetologist to help you. But don't just throw in the towel after you have tried several hairstyles or just like, ugh, you know what? I don't like my hair. This is hard to maintain. No, you haven't figured it out yet. And if you don't allow yourself to have that space of patience and give yourself the grace to figure it out, then you're already losing the battle by saying that it's hard to maintain. And honestly, all hair can be hard to maintain. Permed hair, locks, braids, it don't matter what kind of hair it is. I don't want y'all just throwing that on natural hair because it may take a little bit more steps than any other type of hair. But I just think that's not right. That's not fair just to say it's hard to maintain when technically you're the one maintaining it. So make it easier for you by either researching, going to a cosmetologist, or doing what's best for you in terms of your natural hair process. But saying it's hard to maintain isn't on natural hair, it's on you. Like, does that make sense? That's not fair to the natural hair girls that are like, I mean, yeah, the channel is called FROstrated, but by all means, is it hard to maintain? I don't think so. It may be stressful sometimes, but it's not one that you're like stressed out every single hairstyle. You're gonna have good moments. You just have to allow them to happen and give yourself enough grace to fail, to mess up, to not get the style right. And if you don't have that patience or that grace for your hair, then maybe the natural hair journey is not for you. But it's unfair to say that it's hard to maintain because usually it's those that are just like, you know what, I'm done. I can't do it no more. I ain't got the patience. I ain't got the time. It's like, how are you supposed to get to the rainbow if you ain't started the journey? Hello? So that's just how I feel. Don't say it's hard to maintain. Don't even speak that about your process. If you speak that about your journey, it will happen. It comes into fruition. If you don't like the way that your journey is going, change it. If you don't like the fact that it's hard to maintain, change that. Do the research, put in the time to change how you feel, how you see your hair, and then you'll see results. Just how I feel. Don't shoot me. I'm just saying my opinion. Okay? All right. This third one kind of hits home because I was one of those people that actually had this idea in my head. And it's once you figure out your curl pattern or once you do your porosity test, then that's it. You got the keys to knowing natural hair. Let me be the first to say that it's not necessarily wrong, but it's not the end all be all in terms of the necessities you need to know about your hair in order for you to find your products and things like that. I have a whole video about the porosity test, and the only reason I did the video is to figure out what I needed in terms of what products to use. But using the porosity test or the curl pattern chart or whatever, and then swearing by it or just saying that that's all you're going to rely on is a little uncanny in terms of researching and stuff like that. And maybe it's because we don't have enough research out there to identify our hair types and our curl patterns and stuff like that. But to rely solely on one thing, and that one thing not even being solid, is kind of cheating yourself out of a journey that you may otherwise do if you didn't have the curl pattern chart or the porosity test to go by. So I'm not necessarily debunking this per se, because I know a lot of people use the porosity test and some people will still do it regardless of the misconception. But I just think that that shouldn't be your only source. I do feel like finding a cosmetologist and having them tell you what works for you is another avenue that a lot of people don't use often, or they feel like it's too expensive, which I can understand. But I would much rather go that route plus the porosity test. That way you have more than one avenue to go by, and more than one source to kind of help you reference everything in terms of your products and your hairstyles and how you treat your hair and how you keep it moisturized and stuff like that. So sometimes you can do all of that and still be wrong. That should be the next misconception. So the third misconception is one that I think I have said to a lot of people, or I believe is one of the bigger ones that we as a natural hair community have to talk about more often. And that is that protective styling is like an energy drink for your natural hair in terms of growth. I do not agree with the idea or the commentary, the conversation that a protective style is the chicken noodle soup of natural hair. Like, I want people to do a lot better about truly discussing the cons that you get from protective styles sometimes when you do them too much, and who you're allowing to do your protective styles can actually hurt your hair more than it can help. Don't get me wrong. Protective styles do exactly that when they're done correctly, which is to protect your hair through either, you know, cold seasons, vacations, just work, especially if you work often, you know, all of that stuff. But when you get to saying that protective styles literally take your hair growth from step A to step T, I think it's unfair for your journey and yourself, because you set yourself up for disappointment every time you go to get your hair braided. And then when you take your braids out, you're looking in the mirror like, well, why isn't my hair growing as fast as I thought it would, or as such and such did? And because of that, then you're saying natural hair is hard to maintain, or I just simply don't want to be natural. And I am a fan of protective styles. Y'all have obviously seen my videos and stuff like that, but I kind of want to dispel the idea that protective styles save the day. They do save the day in the idea that they help the process in terms of your everyday life a lot easier, because you literally don't have to do much. But to say that when you put your hair in a protective style that it's going to cause enormous amounts of growth in a short period of time is unfair, and it literally sets you up to be disappointed, truly disappointed in your hair, your hairstyle, your hairstylist. Like, it just makes you become grumpy and like pessimistic towards being natural when you set yourself up and expect so many things from protective styles, when you could really apply that same mentality of, you know, taking care of your hair and keeping your hair moisturized and keeping it trim and all those things before the protective style process. And then when you get the protective style process and it happens and you take it out, you see the growth then, because you've been doing what you're supposed to do beforehand. So I just want to kind of relay the message. If you haven't heard it already, protective styles are supposed to be just that, but they are not like your little gold coin at every checkpoint. Like, once you do a protective style every 4 months, your hair is going to grow 10 inches. Like, that is not the case. I think we should stop putting that in our vocabulary and in our conversations with people who are aspiring to be natural, because it's not fair to them and to you know, anybody who wants to be natural, that protective styles are just the thing that's going to jumpstart you. No, I mean, keep your hair moisturized, do the things that you would normally do without the protective style, and then add the protective style to keep your hair from breaking off. There's so many things that I can say about protective styles, but yeah, that's all I got about that. So the fourth misconception is one that I find myself hearing a lot from those who are not natural. And it is, well, if it's not that particular hair type, or if it doesn't look like that, then I don't think it's natural, or it's actually this type of hair. No, and no, that is wrong. That is judgmental, for one, and it's just wrong. I just find myself seeing that from people that aren't natural, or those who were and chose not to continue their journey. First of all, what you see on social media and TV and entertainment and stuff like that is cool, and that might be something that we might have to have a conversation about with those that you see on TV and those that you aspire to be and stuff like that, and you think that's the only way that you could be natural if your hair looks like that. Completely false, completely wrong. And I feel like now in this current age, TV and media is doing better about broadcasting different types of natural hair, because we have had so many years and so many generations of seeing only one type. So we have psychologically told ourselves that that is the only way. That is the only curl type. That is the only curl pattern. That is the only texture that is natural hair, and that is incorrect. And I believe it's due to lack of research and just simply not caring enough, or being ignorant to the fact that there's more than one type of natural hair. Please, please stop. Please be courteous enough to do the research and to look at something beyond what you normally see, so you can have that knowledge for yourself. So when you see someone that might have a more coarse hair, more thicker hair, more loose curl, or they may not have a curl at all, but they're still natural, understand that that person knows that they're natural. You telling them how you see and you view natural hair is it's a bit weird and a little entitling to me, just my opinion. But I just want people to do better about what they view as natural. Change the idea if you feel like it's only one type of natural. If it's not this loose wave or body curled, or if it's all the way down the back, or if it's short and really coily, that's it. Everybody else just doesn't fit that description. Natural hair is too broad and too wide to be encapsulated into this one general idea. So can we please just not allow ourselves to be that ignorant that we are kind of just allowing any and every excuse as to why I can't look like this and be natural, or because I look like this, if another girl doesn't have the exact same hair type as mine, or if it's not this length, then obviously her natural hair journey isn't going well, or maybe she's not natural. Let's do better about communicating a little bit better on the natural hair journey, regardless of how you view it, or how you were taught, or how you see it. Okay, please. Thank you. Okay, so my last misconception is one that around this time I feel like it's necessary, and that is straightening your hair is bad for you, and it's going to cause damage to your hair. Listen, to some extent I actually agree with that, because it's all about how much you do it, and what you're using to actually keep your hair from damage. But to say that straightening your hair in a general sense is going to just completely destroy what you have worked so hard for, I feel like that's not necessarily true. First of all, if you are natural, I almost recommend you straighten your hair at least twice a year, or at least once a year, just so you see where you're at, just so you can trim your hair and do like all of the I won't say professional, but necessary stuff that you need to do with your hair. But to say that it's going to damage your natural hair truly depends on what protective sealants you're using for your hair, in terms of how you straighten it, or what you use beforehand, and who's doing it. Because I've seen some that do their own blowouts on themselves, and you go, dang girl, like, calm down. Like, you don't have to be on 500 degrees. But that's to each its own. And that's how I feel about this whole misconception and or myth. It's literally up to you to decide or determine what's too much in terms of heat, who's going to do it, whether it be a professional or not, and how much heat you use on your hair and how well your hair responds to heat. But to say that it's going to damage it as if the moment you do it, your whole curl pattern and hair in general is ruined, I feel like it's a bit dramatic, and it might be excessive, but I can understand that can also come from people who have experienced those type of things. So I'll try to be as cognizant as possible, but I just don't feel like that's necessarily the case unless you don't know what you're doing or you've done it so much so that it actually has damaged your hair and you may not be able to revert your hair back. So I don't think it damages your hair at all if you know what you're doing or you have some sort of idea as to how to do it without damaging your hair, whether it be the products, the actual tools that you use, and etc. But I'm not going to sit here and say the moment you use heat on your hair, you can kiss your natural hair goodbye. That's unfair, it's dramatic, and it just simply shouldn't be said unless you know what you're doing or you have someone to do it for you who know what they're doing. So, yeah, guys, heat damage is real, but that's only if you don't do what's necessary to protect your hair from heat damage. So, wrap this up before these lashes start flying away. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did like the video, give me a thumbs up. Comment below if you have any other misconceptions or myths that I did not discuss that you would like to discuss. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, y'all. Be safe. Please wear a mask.